Welcome to Justice Insight Cam. Join us as we review factual police encounters documented by official body cameras. We look past the initial footage to evaluate the legal context, factual accuracy, and critical lessons within. Let us seek justice through clarity.
Ms. Henderson, you testified you had no income. These records show payouts, deposits, and sales. Back support is ordered. If you hide money again, contempt is on the table.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Ms. Henderson, the judge says, eyes fixed on the witness stand. You testified under oath that you have no income. The courtroom is still. Not quiet, still. The kind of stillness that feels like a held breath. On the table in front of the judge sits a stack of papers so thick it looks like it has weight beyond ink. Bank statements, payment processor summaries, shipping labels, and a spreadsheet with columns that stretch like a runway. Brooke Henderson sits upright, white-knuckling the edge of the witness chair. Her hair is perfectly done. Her makeup is deliberate. Her expression is built to say, "I'm overwhelmed." Across the aisle, Malik Johnson, her black husband, now her ex in everything but the paperwork, keeps his hands folded, shoulders tight, jaw locked, like he's trying to keep his own anger from becoming the story. Judge Denise Rowe flips one page, then another, then she stops and taps a line with the tip of her pen. "These," she says, "are your online store receipts. 97 payouts in 12 weeks, 216 shipments in 1 month, and deposits into an account you did not disclose." Brooke's attorney rises too fast. "Your Honor, my client..." The judge lifts a hand. "Counsel," she says, "sit." The attorney sits. Judge Rowe doesn't look away from Brooke. "You also testified," the judge continues, "that Mr. Johnson did nothing and that you were broke while he lived comfortably." She turns the page again, and yet these records show advertising charges, inventory purchases, and product returns, all paid while you claimed you couldn't contribute a single dollar to your child's support. A pause. "Ms. Henderson," the judge says, voice tightening by 1 degree. "Do you want to revise your testimony before I do it for you?" Brooke's mouth opens. No sound comes out. Judge Rowe nods once, like she already has her answer. "Back support will be ordered," she says, "and this court is issuing an immediate wage and payout assignment. If you attempt to hide funds again, we will be discussing contempt. And yes, jail is on the table." Malik exhales, slow, like he's been underwater. Brooke doesn't move, but her heel taps once against the wood, a tiny crack in the story she came here to sell. Because the court didn't decide this case on feelings. It decided it on receipts. To protect privacy, names, locations, and some details are reconstructed. This is a fictionalized composite inspired by common patterns in family court support disputes involving hidden income and online businesses. Malik Johnson never imagined he'd end up in court arguing about QR codes and shipping labels. He was a bus depot supervisor, 39 years old, steady job, steady routine, the kind of man who measured his weeks in early mornings and shift schedules. He wasn't flashy, he wasn't rich, he was consistent. When Malik and Brooke met, consistency was what attracted her. Brooke was 27 then, energetic, charming, quick with jokes, the kind of person who made strangers feel like friends. She talked about starting a business someday. Something creative, she'd say, because she hated the idea of working under someone else forever. They moved fast, not because it was perfect, because it was easy. They filled in each other's gaps. Malik brought structure, Brooke brought warmth, and when their daughter, Harper, was born, Malik thought they'd built something unbreakable. Harper came into the world with a loud, indignant cry and a full head of dark curls that made Malik laugh in the delivery room. He cut the cord. He held her first. He whispered, "Hey, baby girl," like he'd been waiting his whole life to say it. For a while, The family looked normal from the outside. Weekend pancakes, trips to the park, Harper's tiny sneakers by the door, Brooke posting pictures online with captions like "blessed." But inside the house, the cracks started the way they usually start. Quiet, small, a feeling you can ignore if you're tired enough. Brooke's creative business began as a hobby, yet handmade hair accessories at first, then custom bundles, then a little online storefront with a clean logo and soft pastel colors. She called it Harbor Honey. At first, Malik was proud. He helped her set up shelves in the spare room. He drove her to the post office with bins of packages in the trunk. He watched Harper nap on Brooke's chest, while Brooke printed shipping labels on their kitchen table. Malik didn't understand the business, but he understood effort, and Brooke looked like she was finally doing something that made her feel alive. Then the orders grew. The hobby became late nights. The side money became daily deposits. And Malik started to notice something he couldn't name at first. Brooke wasn't just building a business. She was building a private world. Passwords he didn't know. Accounts he wasn't added to. A second phone she called just for customers. When Malik asked about it, Brooke's answer was always the same. "It's easier this way," she'd say. Easier. For who? The marriage didn't end because of the store. It ended because of the way Brooke started using the store, as proof, as power, as a reason to treat Malik like he was holding her back. "You don't understand," she'd snap when he asked why their credit card was suddenly maxed out. "It's inventory," she'd say when a bank alert hit his phone. "It's an investment," she'd insist when he asked why they were behind on daycare. Malik tried to talk, Brooke tried to win, and slowly, the house filled with that exhausted tension where nobody is listening. Then came the words that Malik still heard in his head, months later. "Well, you're lucky I'm even with you," Brooke said one night during a fight, voice sharp and low. "You think anyone else would put up with this?" Malik stared at her. "Put up with what?" he asked. Brooke's eyes flicked over him. "Everything," she said. She didn't say race. She didn't have to. Malik felt the implication like heat, and that was the night he understood the marriage was no longer a partnership. It was a scoreboard. The separation was ugly in the way civil separations are ugly. No screaming in public, just paperwork, just texts, just a slow battle over who gets to call themselves the stable parent. Brooke moved out first, taking Harper for a few weeks, she said. Malik agreed at first because he thought calm would protect Harper. Then those weeks became months. And Malik found himself doing what fathers often end up doing in custody disputes, proving he isn't a stereotype, proving he shows up, proving he pays, proving he isn't the story Brooke wanted to tell. The temporary orders gave Brooke primary physical custody. Malik got alternating weekends and one midweek dinner, and he paid child support, automatically withheld from his paycheck. He didn't miss a payment. He couldn't. The state took it before he even saw it. At first, Brooke still let him see Harper. Then she began to cancel. She's sick. She has a party. She's tired. Every excuse was small enough to sound reasonable, but together they formed a pattern. Less time, less access, less father. Malik filed to enforce. Yeah, Brooke responded with the kind of allegation that feels like poison because it's hard to disprove. He's controlling, she claimed. He's angry. He doesn't do anything for her. Malik heard those words in court and felt the floor shift, because now, on paper, he wasn't a father, he was a problem. Then the custody situation flipped, not because Malik won, because Brooke started unraveling. Harper's teacher called Malik one afternoon. "Harper has been very tired," the teacher said. "She said her mum stays up late working and she can't sleep." Malik's stomach tightened. He didn't accuse. He asked questions. And then Harper said something that sounded innocent but landed like a bell. Mum says we can't be late because she has to drop packages, Harper said. Packages, at 6:45 in the morning. Malik began to notice the boxes. When he picked Harper up, Brooke's porch was stacked with them, brown cardboard towers with printed labels. Some had return addresses with a different name. Not Harbor Honey, not Brooke, a simple LLC HBR Fulfillment Solutions. Malik asked Brooke about it. She smiled without warmth. "None of your business," she said. Then she added the line that would come back later like a boomerang. "I'm broke, Malik. You think I'm out here living it up? This is all I have." Broke, standing next to a porch full of shipments. One night, Brooke didn't show up for exchange. No message, no call. Malik waited in a grocery store parking lot with Harper's booster seat in his car and a knot in his stomach. After 40 minutes, he drove to Brooke's apartment. He didn't knock like a man trying to fight. He knocked like a father trying to make sure his child was okay. The neighbor opened the door instead. "Oh," the neighbor said, eyes wide. "You're Harper's dad." "Yes," Malik replied. The neighbor hesitated. "She's not here," the neighbor said. "They left earlier, lots of boxes." Malik's blood went cold. He called Brooke. Voicemail. He called again. Voicemail. He called the police for a welfare check. 2 officers arrived and knocked. No answer. When Brooke finally called back hours later, her voice was sharp. "Why would you send cops?" she demanded. "Because you didn't show," Malik replied. "Because you didn't answer. Because our daughter..." "She's with me," Brooke snapped. "She's fine." "Where?" Malik asked. Brooke paused. "None of your business," she said again, and Malik realized the truth. This wasn't about co-parenting, it was about control. At the next hearing, the judge changed custody, not dramatically, methodically. Brooke had missed school pickups. Brooke had changed addresses without notice. Brooke had violated exchange orders. Malik had documentation, texts, school emails, the welfare check report. Judge Rowe granted Malik temporary primary physical custody. Brooke got supervised visitation until stability was proven, and then the judge addressed support. "Ms. Henderson," she said, "you will pay support based on your income." Brooke's attorney stood. "Your Honor," he said, "my client has no income. She's unemployed. She's struggling." Brooke nodded dramatically. "I'm broke," she said, eyes glossy. "I'm trying. He never did anything for that business anyway. That was me. And it didn't even work." Malik almost laughed, not because it was funny, because it was absurd. The judge ordered Brooke to submit financial disclosures, bank statements, tax returns, pay stubs. Brooke submitted a packet that looked empty. No payroll, no business income. Small deposits labeled transfer, rent assistance, a picture painted carefully, a struggling mother, a stable father. The court set support low, minimal, and Malik left with Harper's hand in his and a new kind of anger, because he wasn't trying to punish Brooke. He was trying to keep Harper safe, and he knew, in his bones, Brooke wasn't telling the truth. The evidence didn't come from a hacker. It came from Harper. Kids don't know what they reveal. One evening, Harper sat at Malik's kitchen table, coloring while Malik made spaghetti. She looked up and said, casually, "Mom says she can't pay because her money goes to the Stripe thing." Malik froze. "Stripe thing?" he repeated. Harper nodded. "The computer says Stripe payout," she said. "Mom reads it and gets mad." Stripe. Malik didn't know the details, but he knew enough. Stripe was not food stamps. Stripe was not rent assistance. Stripe was business. Malik called his attorney the next day. Carla Nguyen, mid-40s, calm voice, sharp mind, the kind of lawyer who didn't posture. She listened without reacting. Then she said, "We subpoena." Malik swallowed. "Can we?" he asked. If she's hiding income in a support case, yes, Carla replied. And if she lied under oath, the court will care. That sentence hit Malik in the chest. Will care. Because so far, the court had felt like a place where whoever told the cleanest story won. Carla didn't tell stories. She built timelines. Carla hired a forensic accountant, Priya Desai. Priya didn't look like a movie detective. She looked like someone who had spent her life staring at numbers until they confessed. She asked Malik for everything he had: texts, photos, screenshots, any shipping label he'd seen, any brand name, any email Brooke had accidentally forwarded. Malik didn't have much, just a picture he'd taken of the porch boxes during an exchange. Harper's backpack in the corner, label stacked. Priya zoomed in. HBR, Fulfillment Solutions, she read. Then she typed, a quick search, a business registration under a name that wasn't Brooke's. It was Brooke's sister, Megan Henderson. Priya didn't smile. She just said, Hardy, that's not accidental. They subpoenaed payment processors, shipping accounts, the online storefront platform, bank records tied to the deposits, and something else that surprised Malik: advertising accounts. Because if you want to know if a store is alive, follow the ads. The results came back like a flood. Not guesses, not rumors. Records. Stripe payouts tied to a store called Harbor Honey. Monthly totals that didn't match. Broke. A second store on another platform under a slightly different name. PayPal transfers into Megan's account. Then, from Megan's account, transfers into Brooke's, labeled gift, loan, family. Family. A word people use when they want money to stop looking like income. Priya built a spreadsheet with every payout, every deposit, every transfer. Then she did the part judges love. She summarized net revenue, cost of goods, advertising, estimated profit, and the final number. Brooke wasn't broke. Brooke had been earning enough that, under guidelines, she should have been paying support for months, and she had paid nothing. Carla filed a motion to modify support and for back support. She attached Priya's declaration. She attached the processor records. She attached screenshots of product listings. She attached order counts, and she asked the court for sanctions. Not revenge, accountability. Brooke's response was immediate: denial. It's not my store, she claimed. That's my sister's. That money was loans, she insisted. Malik is just trying to ruin me, she said. And then she did something that always backfires. She made it personal. She told the court Malik was weaponizing the system against her. She implied he was angry because she was independent. And she said, in a tone that made the courtroom tighten, he didn't do anything for that. He just wants to take from me. Malik stared at the floor because he knew what she was doing. She was asking the court to see him as a threat, not a father. Carla didn't react. She waited, because the best way to respond to a performance is with a receipt. At the hearing, Judge Rowe listened to Brooke's testimony again. Brooke cried at the right moments. She said, struggling like it was a mantra. She said, I'm broke, 3 times. And when the judge asked about the store, Brooke leaned into the lie. My sister runs it, she said. She just helps me sometimes. I don't make money. Judge Rowe nodded slowly, and then she looked at Carla. Ms. Nguyen, she said, your evidence? Carla stood. No theatrics. She handed the clerk a packet. Your Honor, she said, Exhibit 7 is the merchant account tied to Harbor Honey. The contact phone number on file is Ms. Henderson's. The shipping address for returns is Ms. Henderson's apartment. Exhibit 8 shows payouts routed through her sister's account and then transferred to Ms. Henderson as family gifts. Exhibit 9 shows at purchases made with Ms. Henderson's card. Brooke's attorney stood. Objection, he began. Judge Rowe lifted a hand. Overruled, she said. Sit. Then the judge turned to Brooke. Ms. Henderson, she asked, Do you recognize this email address? She read it aloud. It was Brooks. Brooks swallowed. Yes, she admitted. And do you recognize this shipping label? The judge asked. She held up a label with Brooks' apartment address. Brooks' mouth opened. It's where my sister sends returns sometimes, she said quickly. Judge Rowe's eyes narrowed. Sometimes, she repeated. She flipped a page. Here are 34 returns, she said. All to your address, over 6 weeks. Brooks' face tightened. The judge didn't stop. And here, she continued, are your own messages to customers. She read one line. Thanks for your order. I'm printing labels tonight. Drop goes out tomorrow. Brooks' shoulders collapsed a fraction. The judge set the paper down. Ms. Henderson, she said, you are not helping sometimes. You are operating the business. Brooks' attorney tried one last escape. Your Honor, he said, gross revenue is not income. There are expenses. Judge Rowe nodded. I'm aware, she said. That's why we have a forensic accountant's analysis of net income. She turned to Priya's declaration. Then she said the sentence that ended the argument. This court finds Ms. Henderson intentionally concealed income, she ruled. Brooke inhaled sharply. Judge Rowe continued. Support will be recalculated based on imputed income consistent with these records. Back support is ordered retroactive to the date custody shifted, plus statutory interest. A payout assignment will be served on the payment processors, and any further concealment will result in contempt proceedings. A pause. Ms. Henderson, the judge added, do you understand what contempt means? Brooks' voice came out thin. Yes, she whispered. Judge Rowe's gaze stayed steady. It means jail is not hypothetical, she said. It is a consequence. Outside the courtroom, Malik didn't celebrate. He stood in the hallway with Harper's backpack in his hand and felt a strange mix of relief and sadness. Relief that the court finally saw what he'd been living. Sadness that it took a spreadsheet to make the truth real. Carla walked beside him. This won't make her like you, she said quietly. Malik nodded. I'm not trying to make her like me, he replied. I'm trying to make her show up for our daughter. Carla looked at him. And now she has to, she said. The first payout assignment hit 2 weeks later. A small portion of Brooks' online store income was intercepted and routed to child support. Not enough to destroy her, enough to stop the lie. Brooke called Malik that night, not to apologize, but to rage. You did this, she snapped. Malik's voice stayed calm. No, he said. Your receipts did. Silence. Then Brooke's voice dropped. You think you won? She hissed. Malik exhaled. This isn't a game, he said. This is Harper. Brooke hung up. Months later, Harper brought home a school project. My family. She drew 2 houses, one labeled Dad, one labeled Mom, and between them, a big line that said, Me. Malik taped it to the fridge, because it was the clearest picture of what courts are actually protecting. Not adults, stability. And stability isn't a speech, it's groceries, dentist appointments, school supplies, a safe place to sleep. It's the boring daily things money pays for. That's why hiding income in a support case is never just money. It's hiding responsibility. If you've ever watched someone cry poor while spending on ads and inventory, if you've ever seen money hide in plain sight behind the word family, you understand why this case turned on receipts. Because receipts don't have feelings. They don't have a narrative. They have dates, amounts, destinations. And in family court, that's what wins. Not because judges don't care about emotion, because children can't eat emotion. So the story ends the way it started. A judge, a stack of pages, a lie that sounded believable until the numbers arrived, and a ruling that didn't just correct a payment, it corrected a record. Because in the end, Brooke's claim wasn't undone by Malik's anger. It was undone by her own online store, by the orders she fulfilled, the payouts she accepted, and the money trail she thought nobody would follow. And the court's message was simple. You can hide behind a story for a while, but you can't hide from receipts forever.
Thanks for staying until the end. If this review offered a fresh viewpoint, please like, share, and subscribe to Justice Insight Cam. Stay alert, stay out of harm's way, and we will catch you next episode.